Hi there, it's Dr. Jen Simmons from Real Health MD. It's Tuesday night at 7 o'clock and it's time for my answer to breast cancer. And I'm so excited to be sharing this information that I got just 2 weeks ago. I did the DNA 360. It's a genomic analysis that basically gives you the roadmap to your best health. And the amount of things that I was doing wrong, and I consider myself a pretty educated consumer, and I thought that I was pretty in touch with myself. And the amount of things that I was doing wrong for myself, for my own health, for my longevity, for my anti-aging, for all of it is astounding, mind-blowing. And so I'm going to share some of the insights with you just so that you can get a sense of what this test is about, the power of this test, what this test can do for you, for your health, and for your future. So let's start with the topic of hormone balance, because everyone is looking for hormone balance. I don't know anyone who is at any stage of their health, of their life, that's not looking for hormone balance. We think about hormones differently at every stage of life, but essentially there is no part of life that is not where your health is not dependent on proper hormones. So all humans produce two kinds of sex hormones. So we produce androgens. Those are the male dominant, male feature dominant sex hormones, and we produce the estrogens. But both men and women have androgens and estrogens, and it's the delicate balance of them that give us our individual sex characteristics. And the androgens and the estrogens, they influence many aspects of your health and wellness, of your growth, of reproduction, but they are of particular importance in longevity and in your overall mental clarity and mental health as that plays into longevity, which it has a significant influence. So your production of your sex hormones is highly influenced by your genes. Now, that is not to say that you cannot impact that, because you certainly can. And that is the power of this test, is that it tells you what your genetic predisposition is, but you can take that information to influence a better ratio, to influence a better outcome, so that you can come into balance instead of just taking that imbalance, or in some instances, certainly in my instance, I was feeding that imbalance. And not only did that have an effect on my androgen levels, my estrogen levels, but it also had a result. It also had a result in other areas of my body and other hormones, my thyroid hormone in particular. And so this information that you gain from this test can help you to design a custom living plan that will allow you to come into hormone balance essentially effortlessly. So your hormone production, your sex hormone production, is highly influenced by your genes. Your genes determine the speed of your hormone production. They determine how well the hormones bind to the effector sites, how well they get into the cell and influence the different processes that happen as a result of hormone binding. And your genes also determine the length of time that your hormones stay active and how quickly you clear them. And at every step along the way, that will have a significant effect on your hormone balance. It will also have an effect on how you clear those hormones. And as a result of hormone production, we make things and we have to break them down. And the way in which we break these hormones down is very important, and our genes influence that as well. So for people that don't clear their hormones, they're at risk for long-term inflammation. inflammation, as we all know, is the root of disease. It's the root of chronic disease. And those diseases can range anywhere from infertility, PCOS. They can contribute to anxiety, depression, insomnia. They can result in sleep disturbance, but they can also result in cancer. And so when we talk about anti-cancer living, we cannot ignore hormone balance, because hormone balance is essential for anti-cancer living. So the way that we get our physique, achieve longevity and things like that is through our own personal hormonal ratio. So the reason that a man looks like a man as opposed to looking like a woman is because the ratio of androgens or testosterone in a man is higher than the ratio of estrogen to testosterone in a woman. So it's that ratio. Everyone has testosterone and everyone has estrogen, but the ratio of testosterone to estrogen is what determines the sexual characteristics. And too much of any one hormone is going to cause an imbalance and result in inflammation of some sort. So the ratio of androgens, which is testosterone, to estrogens influences your body type, your shape, your physique, your reproductive nature, and will have significant effects on your reproductive capabilities. So in everyone, our master hormone is progesterone that turns into DHEA that converts into testosterone, which converts into estrogen. And it's the rapidity with which those reactions happen that generally determines your hormone balance. And then as it winds up in estrogen, your ability to clear that estrogen and how rapidly you do that will highly influence how much inflammation you have as a result of that process and what diseases that you're at risk for in the future. But the beauty of having this information is that you can do things, food, nutrients, lifestyle. There are so many measures that you can take to influence those stepwise progressions and to influence the clearance of your hormones and protect your health. So let's talk about what too much testosterone production looks like, especially the active form of testosterone, which is DHT. So having too much DHT, if you rapidly convert your progesterone to DHEA to testosterone, so if you rapidly convert those, then this can lead to hair loss, especially male pattern hair loss or male pattern baldness, but to cystic acne. So even though it's important to have some of that DHT, it's what leads to those muscly physiques and lean muscle mass. To have too much DHT leads to this male pattern baldness, to the cystic acne, to the emotional outbursts. I'm always reminded of that scene from 40 First Dates where he keeps telling the son to lay off the juice. So it's the juice, the testosterone supplementation that leads to those changes, like the male pattern baldness and the cystic acne. And that's not just happening to men. It's happening to women too, if women are rapidly converting to that form of testosterone to DHT and not going on to produce the estrogens. So there are lots of women who are DHT or testosterone positive, and they have a more muscular build, they're straighter, less curves. And that's because they have testosterone dominance. Now, if you rapidly convert that testosterone to estrogen, then you're going to have some degree of estrogen dominance. And estrogen and then the breakdown products of estrogen especially can cause inflammation. And that is associated with mood and behavioral disorders. It is associated with autoimmune disease, and that is actually what happened to me. And it's associated with breast cancer. And that is why there is such a strong correlation between autoimmune disease and breast cancer. And 25% of people with autoimmune disease will go on to get breast cancer. So it's so important to have this knowledge so that you can make the changes necessary in your life and feed your genes and live your genes appropriately so that you avoid these diseases that are associated with these tendencies. So even so much as how you work out, how you exercise can have a large effect on your hormones. It affects, first of all, whenever we burn fuel, we are going to cause some byproduct. You think about, with your car, you make exhaust. Well, some people can process that exhaust really well, and that exhaust is processed in a very similar way to your estrogen. And some people don't process that fuel well at all. And so they're left with a lot of byproduct. So all of that byproduct and all of the estrogen byproducts, as we break them down, if we get stuck in that breakdown process, if we don't have good genes for that breakdown process, that is very highly inflammatory. So for some people who don't break down their fuel well and don't break down their estrogen well, and I fall into this category, you want to stay away from cardiovascular exercise. You do not want to reach maximum heart rate. You do not want to do sustained activities because they just contribute to inflammation for you. And remember, our goal is to live an anti-inflammatory life. So for people who have problems breaking those hormones down, they want to do more weightlifting, do more gentle exercise, walking. You should be able to speak in a normal way without huffing and puffing while you're doing your exercise. So, and at least for me, I'm supposed to exercise between 6 and 8 a.m. or between 5 to 7 p.m. when my testosterone levels are at its peak. And this is such valuable information for you because maybe you're not doing the right kind of exercise for you, and maybe it is just contributing to inflammation in your body. I want you to know that there are things that you can do all along the way, at every step along the way, to improve your genetics. So I'm just going to give you an example of, for people with cystic acne, there are things that you can do to prevent the conversion into DHT, into that strong form of testosterone that leads to this cystic acne and leads to the hair loss. So you can do things like drink fenugreek tea or season your food with fenugreek. Take saw palmetto. Lycopene prevents this reaction. You can take DIM, sulforaphane, eat broccoli or the sulfurous vegetables, genistein, resveratrol, zinc picolinate. All of these things influence that pathway. And these are things that are readily available in food. So you would just design your diet around that information. And if you're estrogen dominant and you're making too many estrogens, you're not breaking them down efficiently, you're not using the right pathway to break them down, there are things that you can do like the broccoli pathway. Eat more broccoli, cruciferous vegetables, sulforaphane. All of that will influence how you break down your estrogens. The other thing is, if you're estrogen dominant, you need to look around your home. You need to deplasticize. You need to defragrance. You need to get rid of all of those things that travel down those same estrogen pathways and cause a tremendous amount of inflammation in your body. So I learned so much from running my DNA 360. This is just a very, very, very small part of the story. There's so much more. There's cardiovascular, there's the immune system, there's your sleep. We talked a little bit about diet and exercise, but there's so much more. I'm going to continue to share mine with you, but if you want to know yours, send an email to info@realhealthmd.com and say, I want to know. And I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to. Again, this has been so invaluable for me. I know that it will be life-changing for you to know how to live your best, healthiest, most fulfilling, long, healthy life. This is Dr. Jen Simmons from Real Health MD. Let me know if you want to know.